it's so important that we make sure that we're taking the time to love ourselves, because not that many people in our lives are going to make sure that we're actually doing the things that we need to do. I mean, you have your parents, hopefully, and I'm really sorry if you don't have parents or parental figures that encourage you to do the right things. And the great parents are those who teach you how to love yourself and embody those principles, because they understand how important they are. Self-love is the reason why, in my opinion, that there is so much transgenerational trauma, and why there is people passing on trauma and passing on bad habits from one person to another, whether it's a parent, a foster parent, or just somebody who's just irresponsible and doesn't understand that we're all energy, and the energy that you do not release properly, like your emotions that you do not release properly, is only going to be transferred. And that's when we get into projecting and passing on these feelings and passing on these emotions that are not necessarily supposed to harm you, but can really end up hurting a lot of people in life. And this is why self-love is extremely important. And self-love is, like I said before, and I'm probably going to keep repeating myself over and over and over and over and over again, because self-love is super important. Here are some reasons why self-love is important. First and foremost, taking care of you is the best investment that you can probably make in your life. Taking care of you and making sure that you're okay mentally, physically, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, is just one of the best ways that you can combat everything that goes on in your environment. Because life, the only thing that's constant in life is change. And on certain ends of the spectrum, it can be, either you can be accepting of change, or you can be not so accepting of change and kind of wondering why all of these things are always happening to you. And my goal is to help people move further up the spectrum, getting to the point in their life where they understand that change is constant, change is continual. And so what is it that I can do to prepare myself for that change? What is it that I can do to help me grow from the change that might already be happening in my life? What is it that I can do to take care of me the best way? And that's why self-love is extremely important and extremely detrimental, because that's basically what you're doing with self-love, is you're answering that question. What can I do that will meet my needs and wants in my life? And that's why self-love is so important, because if you don't love yourself and you don't work on the things that you need to be able to grow and heal and live your best life, you're going to be living somebody else's. And this is the most important part of life that I think a lot of people tend to forget, which is why I don't like jobs. And we're going to talk about that in another video. So make sure you like, follow, comment, and subscribe. And anything that you want to hear me talk about in videos, if I am insightful on it, I'll talk about it. And self-love and self-care is always going to boil down to what's best for you and what's best for you. That's just literally it. And moving on to the next point, only you know your needs. If you watched my first video, then I said in the first video, an old expression, closed mouths don't get fed. And this is so true. If you don't open your mouth and tell somebody that, hey, what you did was kind of disrespectful to me, I would appreciate it if you didn't do that again. Or if you literally, like, are hungry and you want some food, and, like, nobody's gonna assume that what they're doing is inappropriate or what they're doing is neglectful unless you bring it up, because only you know what boundaries you can tolerate, and only you know what it is that you can handle in life, and only you can advocate for yourself and be the best advocate for yourself, because only you really knows what's going on in your head and what you need and what you don't need in life. And that's the embodiment of self-love and self-care, because only you know. So it's up to you to find resources, to find people who are similar minded, that, you know, want to be around you, to find all of these different things that you need to grow and to flourish in life. One thing that can possibly happen is if you don't take care of yourself and you don't pay attention to your self-care needs and your self-love needs, is you begin to neglect yourself and probably do a lot of negative self-talk, which is a lot more harmful in the long run than actually taking the time to establish what are my needs, what are my wants, what are my desires in life, and actually going to go get them. You deserve the world. This universe was designed for you to succeed. And even though that there will be like negative Nancy's and Patties and Pete's and whoever the case may be, really, like, because everybody, you know, at one point in time meets people who are just negative. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they don't love you or they don't care. It just necessarily means that they don't understand and they can't grasp the breadth of your vision. And that's why it's super important to learn how to communicate for yourself and learn how to advocate for yourself so that you can become a strong person that can easily get the things that they want and need out of life. Again, closed mouth don't get fed. So if you don't let anybody know that they're crossing your boundaries, you're in a lot of trouble. And just keep watching my videos and I'll teach you how to do it. Don't worry about it. And that leads me to this next point, which, you know, I'm all about personal growth and I'm all about love and happiness. And as sad as it is to say that not many people pursue their own personal growth. And it can be for so many different reasons. Like either they are complacent with what they have, they're not big dreamers, they only have like certain mindsets and certain goals in place that have brought them to the success that they carry, and they don't necessarily believe in self-growth, and if they know about it, then they just don't pursue it. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, hey, self-growth is easy. It's not. It's very hard. It takes practice. It takes discipline. And if I had to give anybody a secret on success, my secret would be self-love, self-care, and personal growth. Because not many people pursue this, because it is hard. Not many people go to the doctor and get counseling and get medications for mental illnesses or even physical illnesses. One, because it's really hard to afford to live a life and afford medical care if you are disabled physically. And then if you're disabled mentally, it's a giant stigma behind it, because, you know, for the longest amount of time, like, nobody was being treated for mental diseases. And if you were being treated for mental diseases, you were crazy. And there's just so much negative stigma behind self-love and self-care and getting medication that you need and taking care of yourself and going to the doctor, that people often tend to shy away from it because it's hard. Um, it's not, it's the road less traveled, and it's just not something that people tend to do every day. And to be honest, this is the secret that the 1% know. The 1%, most of the 1% are committed to growing. They're committed to learning their strengths. They're committed to learning their weaknesses and growing from there. They're committed to learning the skills that they lack on. Like if you're an athlete and you know you can't dribble like that, what do you think professional athletes do? They're going to be in the gym every night practicing their dribble because they know that that's what they lack in in basketball, because that's the sport that I'm talking about. I'm giving you this metaphor. But anyway, you get my point. Like, they are active when it comes to their self-care because they understand that self-care, self-love, and personal growth are the routes to success, because the only person in this world that you should be competing with is who you were yesterday. You shouldn't be competing with your neighbors. You shouldn't be competing with your friends, with your family. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to anybody. You should be comparing yourself to who you were yesterday and what you were doing yesterday. And I think that's a lot of the things that people kind of get caught up in. They get caught up in external factors, which is why it's so easy to neglect yourself and to not love yourself and to not take care of yourself. Because when you hop on Instagram, you'll see like really pretty models, but it's photoshopped. It's photoshopped. It's not real. You'll see like Vogue magazines, like again, really pretty models. It's not real. They wear a lot of makeup. Like you'll see like all of these people perpetrating like driving in expensive cars, and yeah, some of these people might actually be really successful, but success doesn't necessarily mean happiness or fulfillment. And again, self-love and self-care is the number one secret to success and personal fulfillment, because only you know what it is that you need.